Intel helped build the technology behind the AI revolution. Now it's getting billions to secure America's chip future. At the same time, it's cutting tens of thousands of jobs. So what happened? How does a company help create the future and still miss it? This isn't a story about Nvidia winning. It's a story about Intel becoming unable to recognize the world it helped build.
We decode the systems most people never see until it's too late. Why they rise, why they fail, and what the patterns reveal about strategy and power. This is Second Move, the logic behind the outcome. Subscribe to see 3 steps ahead.
For decades, Intel wasn't just a company. It was the center of gravity of the digital world. Every personal computer ran on Intel chips. But that's not why it was powerful. It was powerful because it controlled the system. Intel designed its chips and manufactured them. At the time, that combination was rare and incredibly powerful because manufacturing determines everything: speed, efficiency, scale. Intel didn't just compete on design. It controlled the process that made design possible. And that created a feedback loop. Better manufacturing led to better chips. Better chips led to dominance. Dominance funded even better manufacturing, a system that reinforced itself year after year. But inside that system, a belief started to harden that staying ahead in process technology was enough. That whatever the future of computing looked like, it would run through Intel. And for a long time, that belief worked. Even as the world started to change, mobile computing emerged. Intel had the architecture to compete, but it didn't want to compete on those terms. Mobile chips demanded low power, thin margins, and radical efficiency. Intel's entire system was built for the opposite. So it walked away and handed that market to ARM. Cloud computing scaled next. Intel adapted just enough. Still through the CPU, still through the same model. But then, something different appeared. A new kind of workload, not sequential, parallel. Thousands of small calculations running simultaneously. At first it looked niche. Thousands of small calculations running simultaneously. At first it looked niche. Graphics, gaming, rendering. They started building toward it, experimenting, prototyping. Intel funded that work, which is what makes this next part so important. Because Intel didn't ignore the future, it just didn't trust it enough to bet on it. The strategy that made Intel dominant was already starting to fail, but not in an obvious way. Intel saw GPUs. It even built them. So why didn't it commit? Because committing to GPUs meant something deeper. It meant admitting that the CPU might not be the center of computing anymore. And that would break the system Intel was built on. So instead, Intel optimized. It improved margins, refined its roadmap, and returned capital to shareholders through stock buybacks. Tens of billions of dollars. Money that could have gone into new architectures or manufacturing expansion. Instead, it reinforced the present. At the same time, leadership was changing. Engineers were no longer setting the direction. Financial logic was efficiency, predictability, returns. And under that system, risky bets become harder to justify, even when they matter most. Meanwhile, something structural was shifting. Manufacturing was becoming almost impossibly complex. Each new generation of chips required billions in investment and years of specialization just to attempt. And one company focused entirely on it, TSMC. While Intel tried to do everything, TSMC perfected one thing, and it pulled ahead. But that wasn't the fatal moment. The fatal moment was what Intel did. Instead of responding, it bought back its own stock. Tens of billions of dollars. Capital that could have funded a new architecture, a different manufacturing strategy, a genuine GPU bet. Instead, it went back to shareholders, because under financial logic, a guaranteed return today beats an uncertain revolution tomorrow. And that trade-off made sense on every spreadsheet, right up until it didn't. Meanwhile, another company was building for the exact future that Intel had deprioritized, a company that had no CPU legacy to protect, no dominant system to defend, a company that could bet everything on parallel compute because it had nothing else to lose, Nvidia. This is where the collapse becomes inevitable, not when Nvidia wins, but when Intel can no longer respond, because Intel makes a critical assumption that it can maintain its manufacturing lead while continuing to do everything internally. But the industry is changing. Manufacturing is becoming too complex. Manufacturing is becoming too complex, too expensive, too specialized, and one company focuses entirely on it. TSMC. While Intel tried to do everything, TSMC perfects one thing, and it pulls ahead, first slightly, then decisively. Intel starts missing process node deadlines. Delays compound, confidence erodes, and suddenly, now competitors can design better chips and manufacture them better than Intel can. And this is where the shift happens. AI workloads explode. Demand for parallel computation surges, the exact thing GPUs are built for. The market begins scaling toward nearly $1 trillion, and Intel isn't leading it. It's not even close, because by now, it can't pivot. Its structure won't allow it. Its incentives won't support it. Its strategy has locked it in place. The CHIPS Act arrives, nearly $8 billion. A government betting that Intel can still be saved, that America still needs a domestic chip manufacturer, because even with the money, the system can't move fast enough. The gap keeps widening, because even with the money, the system can't move fast enough. The gap keeps widening. The consequences unfold in layers. First, financially. Margins compress. Market share declines. Competitors redefine the industry. Then, internally. Employees describe something harder to measure. Not just failure, but absence. The spark is gone. Layoffs follow. Tens of thousands of jobs. Reframed internally as corporate people movements. Language that removes the human cost. At the same time, Intel becomes more important than ever, not as a leader, but as a necessity. The US government invests $7.86 billion to keep it alive, to rebuild domestic chip manufacturing, which creates a contradiction. Intel is both failing and essential. It announces new factories, expansion plans, a future comeback. Then delays them, years into the future, and the gap continues to widen. The money is real, the intent is real, but a system that has spent decades optimizing against change cannot simply decide to change. Intel's story isn't about missing a trend. It's about what happens when a system becomes too successful. Because Intel had the talent, the capital, the access. It even helped build the foundations of the AI era. But systems don't fail because they can't see the future. They fail because they can't act on it. Intel optimized for what made it dominant, protected it, scaled it, defended it, until it could no longer change. And that pattern isn't unique to Intel. It's how institutions fail, not suddenly, but structurally. Intel wasn't outcompeted, it was outgrown by a future it helped create.
Everyone plays the first move. Subscribe to Second Move.